So there is a new form building tool out there, and it's available for a lifetime deal from our friends over at AppSumo. Big whoop, right? Forms are kind of a 2017 type of tool, except this one is both open source and powered by AI. It's actually super cool. Let me show you how it works. This is the tool. It's called OpenForm. And as the headline says, you can build beautiful forms in seconds. That is not hyperbole. In about 45 to 50 seconds, we can have a complete form that's fairly complex that can do just about anything you can imagine. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in a moment, but first let me point out a few things that I think are important to know. First of all, this tool is open source, which means you can head over to GitHub, download all of the code, review it. If you're a developer, you can even contribute back. And if you're so inclined, you could throw it on your own server and host it there. Now, I don't necessarily recommend doing that, even if you are a developer, because there is currently a lifetime deal for this tool over on AppSumo. For just one-time fee, 59 bucks, gets you in the door. You'll be able to have forms for life. There's a few options on AppSumo I want to point out. So let's go down to the plan details. Now, these plans are fairly nice because they're easy to understand. Essentially, everybody's getting everything. You can see that we get confirmation emails, Slack, and Discord notifications. We can edit the submissions. We'll be able to remove branding. The thing that's really most important is how many custom domains that you want. You can take the forms and you can embed them on any website if you already have an existing website. However, if you want to have a custom domain that you can send traffic to, maybe it's like forms.yourdomain.com. That way you don't even have to edit your website. You can definitely do that. You'll just be limited to the number of domains based on the plan that you choose. So 59 bucks, one domain, not even doubling the cost. 99 bucks gets you 10 domains. So that's really kind of the sweet spot here in this deal. And if you're an agency or a provider of clients, you'll want to go up to the unlimited custom domain. For 200 bucks, you'll be able to add as many custom domains as you want. I should mention there's also a nice bump in upload size here as well. So if you're requesting attachments from people submitting forms, that goes up with each tier level as well. All right, so I've got the license tier 3. Let's go ahead and check it out over on their website. Now I'm going to click create a form here in a second, but before I do that, I want to point out that this video is sponsored by AppSumo. So if you want to support this channel, help make more content like this possible, go ahead and click the link down below. That will show me a little bit of support and let the folks over at AppSumo know that these videos are beneficial to you. So I really appreciate you clicking my link. Go ahead and do that now. You'll be able to follow along with me as I create a form. So I'm going to click right here to create the form, and I'm already logged in. So it's just asking me what type of form I want to create. If you are kind of old-fashioned and don't want to use the AI feature, you can definitely start from scratch, basically just creating a simple contact form. The option to create from a template is available too, and there are hundreds of templates available. There's a ton of templates, and I think that is because it's so easy to generate templates based on the AI technology that they're using. So that's the option I'm going to choose for this video. Use our AI to generate a form, and I simply add in a prompt here like you would do for ChatGPT. Now, the form that I want to build is for lead generation on my website. I want to get people to request a website audit. So let's go ahead and add a prompt in here. All right, here's my prompt. It says a detailed form to generate leads for my website optimization service. The form will allow people to request a free website audit. And I'm just going to click right here where it says generate a form. Notice that it does say it takes about 60 seconds. In my experience, it's less than 60 seconds. So let's do that right now. All right, there we go. We've got the form completed. It looks really good. Now, if you're thinking, oh, big deal, it's got like 5 or 6 fields. No, there is more than that. Check this out. This is the next button, not a submit button. I just had AI generate a free website audit request in a click, and I've got a multi-page form in response. Let's go ahead and explore the form, and then we'll go back through and I can show you how it was built so that you can customize it to be exactly what you need. All right, so first of all, we've got a title right up here. It says free website audit request, and then it says looking to improve your website, request a free audit and find out how you can optimize your website for better performance. All right, that sounds great. If I wanted to change this copy, I could certainly do so from the left-hand sidebar here, but we'll get into some more of that a little bit later on. All right, so this first page asks for the prospect's full name, their email address, their phone number. Now notice that the phone number is not required. If I wanted it to be required, I could go over here in the left-hand sidebar and just toggle the star on, and now it's a required field. I am going to leave that off. I can choose between different country codes here. Very nice and stylish options. We can see the country flags. I really like how that looks. All right, moving on, we've got the website URL right here. And then we've got a text entry field with website goals so that the prospect could just write a little bit about what they're trying to achieve. Next, we have a services interested in field. This is a multi-select dropdown. So if I click on this, I can choose between the different services that I might be interested in: SEO optimization, page speed improvement, content review, UI UX audit, or other. All right, this is really cool. I can select multiple, as I mentioned, and they simply show up here as I select them. Click away, and everything looks great. I want to point out a few things before we go to the second page. First of all, there's helper text here. So I love the fact that it says under the email address, we'll only use this to contact you about your audit. That's really nicely worded, right? You could certainly do that. And it's not so special that there's helper text. It's very clearly communicating what's going on with your data. And I think that's really nice. Now, if there's anything here you don't like, you can certainly modify it. And it's very simple to do so. But I'm going to save all that for when we get through the actual form. Now, notice that there is a powered by option here. That is also something we can remove with the AppSumo plan. All right, let's go to the second page. The second page just asks for additional information, and then it has a CAPTCHA. Now, it does not use Google reCAPTCHA. It's using another service called HCAPTCHA. HCAPTCHA, a little bit more performant and a little bit more privacy focused. So that's really great. I simply check the little box. It verifies that I'm a human. It's not going to display any fire hydrants or buses that I need to click. So really, really nice. No API keys or website to sign up for. It's just built into the tool. So that's fantastic. We're going to keep spam out by including the HCAPTCHA. All right, let's direct our attention over here to the left-hand sidebar. This is where we can see the form title and the description. So I can edit this right here. If I wanted to remove the word free, boom, it's gone. I do like the word free, so I'm going to add that back in. If I wanted to change this, I can maybe remove some words. There, I just left the R. Let's add it back in. You can tag your forms for organization. This is not something that's going to be present when people are filling out forms. It's only for your own internal organization. Let's go ahead and tag this as a lead gen form. I'll create the tag and then boom, there we go. It is now tagged. That way, if I add more lead generation forms in the future, I'll be able to group them together and sort them. By default, the visibility for each form is going to be set to published. However, you can set it to draft mode if you don't want it accessible, or you can set it to closed if you're no longer accepting submissions. There is the ability to set a time window so that people can submit things only during a certain period of time for like a registration, maybe a sports team or something like that. You'll be able to configure that. But right now, we're going to just focus on the easily accessible options, which are under visibility. I will show you how to add that close date a little bit later on in the video, so definitely keep watching. Under form structure, we've got the ability to move the different fields around. I'm gonna go back to the previous screen here, and I think for my taste, there's a little bit too much going on this front page and not enough on the second page. So what I'm gonna do is simply move the page break up, and I'll put it right underneath the website URL. That's going to make the last two fields, the website goals and the services interested in, move over to the second page. All right, I dropped the field and they disappeared. I really like the helper text under each of these fields. However, I feel like for this one right here, it's really not necessary. So I'm going to click the gear icon next to the full name. Maybe I'll even change this to just say full name. There we go. That's a little more consistent since the next field just says email address. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of please enter your full name. I think people kind of get that and it's just taking up extra space. So let's remove that. That was just right here under the field help option. All right, the rest of this is looking pretty good. Let's continue over to the next page. I feel like having two text fields on this page is a little bit heavy, so I want to get rid of one of them. I'm going to go ahead and modify the website goals by clicking on the gear icon. And then over here on the right, I'll say website goals and additional info. Now, ideally, I'd have this down at the bottom of the page. So I'm going to click on these three dots and just drag them down there. And then I'm going to get rid of the additional information. So I'll click on the gear icon for that and choose remove over here. Where it says services interested in, I think it could be worded a little bit better. And I also don't like the fact that the helper text is down below. So if I am filling out my services that I'm interested in, I'm not going to notice that helper text. It's essentially hidden at this point. So let's solve both of those problems. I'll click on the gear icon. Now, first of all, that helper text. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down until I see the help field. And then I see this option here for the help field position. I'm going to put that above the input. All right. Now, if I click, I can still see that helper text. However, I'm going to change it because right now it's a little redundant. What areas of your website need the most help? And the field name, I'm going to update as well. Okay, I changed the field name here to be where should we focus? And then the helper text fills in the blanks, asking for what parts of your website need the most help. Now, I think this form is looking pretty good, but I'd like to add some more fields. To do so, I've got a few options here. I could simply click Add Block from the left-hand sidebar, and you're going to see that I can choose from a list of different blocks over here on the right-hand sidebar. So if I wanted to, say, request a signature, now that doesn't really make sense for this particular form, but if I wanted to, I'd click over here where it says signature input, and then it's going to be added right below that last field. Now, we already saw that we can grab the triple dots over here to move around elements on our form, but we can also grab them over here on the left-hand sidebar and move them around even to different pages very quickly and easily. The drag and drop is really fluid and feels good when I let go of it. However, in this case, I don't really want that signature field, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it right here. And a little confirmation, and it's gone. I do, however, actually want to add a field. So there's another way to do this. I want it to show up right below this field right here. So I'll click on the plus button there. Now I get that same list, except now when I make an option, you'd think you could drag and drop these, but you actually can't. What I want to do is a select input. So I'm going to choose that one right here. Now I get the field, and you notice that it didn't go to the bottom of the form this time. This time it dropped right below the field that I had selected when I clicked on the plus button. Now I'm going to ask people how urgent the request is. Maybe they have something terrible going on and I really know that it's a hot lead. I want to follow up on it as quickly as possible. So over on the left-hand sidebar, I can edit the title of the field right over here. I'll just click into that field and then give it the name that I want. All right, I typed how urgent is this audit? And I could have, of course, done this over on the right-hand sidebar as well, but it's nice to do over here in this list. Maybe you're going through and you're saying, oh, I really could change the text here, or I want to match the title case. Really simple to do that across all of your fields. Let's add some options in. I'm going to add in just looking, medium priority, and urgent. Now I can test this out. If I click, I can see my options here. Now, one thing I want to point out that this is just a single input field. And I can tell that because right over here, it is listed as select input. Above that, we have a multi-select input. Remember earlier on when we were looking at this, I can choose multiple options for my form. However, for a select input, I only get one. And it makes sense for this question only to allow a single selection. Now, I really want to add in just one more field to this form. So I'm going to go back to that same spot and go ahead and click the plus button. This time, however, I'm going to add in a number input. And let's see where we can find that over here. Right there, number input. It's going to drop down right below my previous field. And here I'm going to say, how would you rate your existing website? Now, this is a number input field, so it's only going to accept numbers. That's not going to be very clear if I'm filling out the form. So what I can actually do over here is change it to a rating option. There's also a scale, so people could choose 1 through 5, or even a slider option. So we could say, 1 through 100, how would you rate this? And then they can move the slider to whatever they want. But I think for this particular question, a rating makes the most sense. And then they can give it a star rating. Oh, my website's a 4-star website. All right, that's going to be really helpful to me to know how happy they are with their existing website. Maybe they just have a small problem. Maybe they're looking for a complete revamp. A feature a lot of people love is conditional logic, which means that you can ask follow-up questions based on the answers that were previously given in the form. So for example here, if someone chooses, let's say, SEO optimization for areas of focus, I might have some follow-up questions to that. Let's go ahead and add some conditional logic in so that we can ask a SEO-related question. So right here, we'll add in another field. And this time I'm going to do a multi-select input. For the field name, I'm going to say SEO parts that you want to improve. Probably not the best language there, but you get the idea. And then I could say technical SEO, on-page SEO, and off-page SEO. There we go. And this is a multi-select, so we can choose as many as we like. Now, the important part about this question is that it only displays if someone chooses SEO optimization as the area that they want focused on. So what we need to do here is with the option selected, we'll go down to conditional logic and we'll set the condition based on the field where we have the question that's being asked. So that is, where should we focus? That's the field that we need to add the logic based on. And we'll add a condition here. And the condition is that it does not contain SEO optimization. And then the action that would be taken is that the block is hidden. All right, perfect. Now you can see over in our preview here, it's hidden. If I choose SEO optimization, then the follow-up question is displayed. All right, my form is looking pretty good here, but there are a few more ways to customize it. Over on the left-hand sidebar, we've got the form theme. It's set to default currently, which is their simple form. I could switch it over to Notion, which is going to give it more of a Notion style. However, I prefer the simple theme. I think that looks best. There is a dark mode option. By default, it's set to use the system preferences of the device, but if we want to set it to dark mode, we could do that as well. I don't really like how the dark mode looks. I think it is a little bit hard to read. It's not quite high enough contrast by default. So I'm going to go back to light mode here. There's options for form width. So I think the one you're going to want to go with is centered, but you could also make it full width. That would look good if you're embedding it on a specific part of your website that's going to have a container to make sure that it doesn't go edge to edge like this. There are some margins on the side, but really I think the centered option is going to look best for most people. We can, of course, add a cover picture and a logo. It's important to note that these images will not be displayed when the form is embedded. Their helper text tells me that. But if you want to do that, you just go ahead and upload your image or your logo right here. If you have a specific color you'd like that maybe is your brand color or your call to action color, you can go ahead and change it to anything you like down here. Notice that it does automatically choose a high contrast color for the text based on the selection of the button. So that's a nice touch. You can't really screw this up too badly. And if you're wondering, you can definitely add your own hex color as well. It's not limited to just a silly color picker. There are a few more simple toggles over here. Maybe you want to hide the title. We can do that. We can remove the branding, which I know a lot of people will be interested in. And then we can also use uppercase for our labels here. So that looks nice for certain fields. I think for most people, they're probably not going to want that option. There's the option to choose a transparent background. So this will only show up when you're embedding the form on your website, which is nice because then you'll be able to easily take on the look and feel of your existing website. We can also add some confetti upon successful submission. And here's what that is going to look like. And finally, we can have the form auto save the response. That way, if someone accidentally closes the window, they can easily come back and the form will be pre-filled with their last entered data. Definitely leave that on for the sanity of the people filling out your forms. Under notifications and integrations, there are two email options. Let's go through those first. Under email notifications, these will be sent to you when someone fills out your form. So toggle this on, and then there's a couple of options. First of all, I'm going to skip to the bottom one, which is the addresses you want to receive the notifications at. So a form is submitted. Where should the notification be sent? So for me, it's going to go to dave@clientamp.com. But right above that is another very important field. Now, you don't really need to do anything here because if it's left empty, it's going to be set up correctly. But this is a nice to have feature. This is going to allow you to set the reply to address. So typically what happens is when you create a form on a website, the form will be sent off by your website. So it's going to be probably your own domain name. Maybe you have a admin address that sends out your notifications. Well, with this option, the reply to is going to automatically set the form to be replied to the person who actually submitted the form. You can see here that it will be filled by the email address field. So small thing, probably gave it too much attention, but I really like that that's built in because over the years, I've definitely seen a lot of clients hitting reply to their forms and then they end up emailing themselves, never actually following up with leads and saying, hey, what's going on? My forms aren't working properly. And they didn't set that up correctly. So it's done for you here. The next option is a confirmation message. So this will go out to the person who filled out the form. So I'm going to turn this on. We can see the options here. We've got the confirmation reply to. So this would be when they receive the confirmation message, where should they be replying to? So in this case, it might be something like support@yourhelpdesk.com or something like that. Then we've got the sender name. So you probably want to change this to be like your business name, let's say Client Amp. And then we've got the subject line. We've got your answers and we've got the message right here. And we can also include that submission data so they have a copy of what they entered on the form. There are also notification options for Slack, Discord, and webhooks. So, that last one being particularly important if you're a developer and you want OpenForm to automatically integrate with your CRM or email application and it can receive webhooks. Go ahead and set up an endpoint and then enter that URL in here. And last but not least, for integrations, Zapier is available as well. So you can connect up to however many thousands of tools Zapier is currently supporting. No code, you just have to pay that Zapier fee. Now, hopefully someone out there will build an active pieces integration, seeing as they're both AppSumo deals and they're both open source. So that'd be really cool to see. Maybe the community out there can get that done. Just a few more options to run through here. About submissions. So we can change our text button here. We can say like send or whatever you want to do. Maybe make that lowercase. We can turn on editable submissions. This will allow people to go back and edit their submissions after they've already been sent. Very useful in certain circumstances for sure. Now you do have the option to either create a new record, which would be nice. So you have a little bit of a paper trail for things that have been changed, or they can update their existing record. After a form is submitted, you can choose to either redirect them to a specific URL on your website, or you can just display a success page right on the OpenForm website, and you can customize that message right here. Under form access, we can password protect our form so it's not just open to the public. We can set a very secret password here, and then only people with that password will be able to complete the form. There's also the option to close the form on a scheduled date. I mentioned this at the top of the video. We can have this be like an enrollment form. So maybe you have a sports team or a class you want people to be able to sign up for. Well, then you can have that enrollment close so that they know after a certain date, they're no longer allowed to submit the form. And of course, we can also limit the number of submissions that are allowed right down here. Let's say I only want 50 people to sign up and they have to do so, how about by the 3rd of, let's say, February. After the form is closed, you've got the option to add in your own text right here to display a message to people to let them know that the form is no longer accepting submissions. Under security and privacy, by default, the form is going to be indexable by Google. If we turn this off, then it will ask Google, basically set a record in a robots.txt file to say, hey, don't come to this website, do not index us. It doesn't mean that Google won't, it will just ask them not to. You can also turn off that reCAPTCHA if you don't like it. One click, boom, it's gone. I love how easy it is to add that in. Really, really nice feature. Under link settings -SEO, this is where we can set the metadata for our page. Now, if we're using our own custom domain, this becomes even more important. But even if you're using the OpenForm domain, which would be by default, you can customize the page title, the page description, and the page thumbnail. So this will be the metadata that essentially shows up on things like Google or Facebook or Twitter if this link is shared. And finally, we have the custom code option down here where we can go ahead and add any code that we want, perhaps an analytics tracking script or maybe a Facebook tracking pixel. You could embed that code right down here. It will be injected into the head section of the form page. And that is everything. I'm going to go ahead and click publish form over here. And you know what? It looks like I wasn't even logged in this whole time. So let's go ahead and get logged in so I can actually publish the form. And here are my sharing options. I've got a link, I've got an embed code, I've even got a QR code. So you could put this on something like a menu in a restaurant to get feedback for how the service was. Really, really cool. There are some advanced sharing options down here so that you can do things like hide the form title or auto submit the form so that if people don't actually complete the form, you can still gather information about what they did get through. Another really nice feature is the ability to embed it as a pop-up. So if we click right here, it's going to pop up in this modal. It's going to tell me that there's a live preview of the form that was just added to this page. Click on the button on the bottom right-hand corner to try it. So right over here, if I click on this, here is that form. I could add this right to our website and then no customization needs to be done. I can simply have a lead generation form added right here. There's an emoji that shows up. I could certainly change this to be anything that I want. Let's do mind blown. And there we go. Just got a little bit of code right here. We would just copy and paste into the header section of our website and we'd be good to go. Really nice touch. Once we start to receive forms, they'll live right over here under submissions. We'll get a nice little chart of all of the forms that we have received. And there's even an analytics form to show me how many people have viewed the form versus submitted the form. All right, here's what it looks like on the domain. Now, I've not connected a custom domain yet. I'll show you that as the last part of the video, but this is what the form is going to look like. I can go ahead and just click through it. Now, of course, I can't submit it because I've not actually filled out many of the fields here to get the error message that shows up. But overall, looks very good, just like we saw inside of the editor. A little nice and clean and simple to access. All right, so let's connect this up to a custom domain. I'm gonna go over to my account here. I'm gonna go over to settings, and then I'll go to workspace settings. From here, I can add in my custom domain. I'm going to choose forms.profitablетools.com. And I need to read their domain instructions here before I hit save. So I'm going to click this. It's going to pop open their little help desk, and I get the necessary DNS settings. And essentially, it's going to be domains.openform.com. So I'm going to copy this. I'll go over to my DNS provider. For me, that happens to be Cloudflare. I'll add a DNS record here. It needs to be a CNAME. I'll use forms, and the target is domains.openform.com. I'll turn off the proxy status for Cloudflare, go ahead and hit save. Head back over to my OpenForm account, hit the save domains. It's going to go ahead and check to make sure that the DNS record was created properly. It was. So now I can assign that custom domain to any of my already built forms. Now, don't worry if you have links out there for forms that you created before you actually linked up a custom domain. Those links will still work just fine. You'll just be able to access that form from 2 URLs. All right, so over under my forms, I can see the website audit request that we just built. I'm gonna go ahead and link this up. So I'm gonna go to edit, and then on the left-hand sidebar, I'm gonna scroll all the way down until we see link settings-SEO, and I will choose the correct domain here. Now let's go ahead and hit publish one more time. And now you can see my share link has been updated. It is now forms.profitabletools.com. And I can go ahead and copy this, open it up. And there we go. I am now using my custom domain. Super easy, couple clicks and we're done. So that is OpenForm. I'm sure you and your clients are going to love it. If you found this video to be helpful, make sure you click the like button. If you didn't, you can buzz off. Also, consider hitting subscribe and clicking that notification bell. I'll be in the comments if you have any questions. My name is Dave Swift. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.